kada mahyam dadati swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pad Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavancha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet. Continuing on the 8th chapter, the series of questions being asked by Maharaj Parikshit. And in this section, till yesterday, what we discussed, the various questions on the reappearance of the jiva, how the jiva reappears after the annihilation. Please also explain how merged in the body of the Lord living beings are created. And how the infidels appear in the world. Please also explain how the unconditioned living entities exist. This we have understood from the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that how after being merged in the body of the Lord, the living beings are created. Further, the 23rd verse, the inquiry was, the independent personality of Godhead enjoys his pastime by his internal potency, and at the time of annihilation, gives them up to the external potency, and he remains a witness to it all. So many questions being asked regarding Kala and Karma. Further, Parikshit Maharaj is inspiring Sukadeva Goswami to speak on this subject matter. Sarvameta cha Bhagavan Prikshato me Anupurvasha Tatvato Tatvatarhasi Udharatam Prapannaya Mahamune. The two words are being used for Shukadeva Goswami. First he says this, Sarvam etak cha Bhagavan. So I want to know answers of all those inquiries or questions that he has inquired. Prichito me. He is expressing his desire, his inquisitiveness, that to know from Anupurvashaha, from the beginning. And what he wants to know, Tatvata, the truth. Why? Because he is surrendered. Unless and until there is surrender, there is no question of getting any reply. He thanks Prapannaya Mahamuni, that I am fully surrendered to you, O great sage. O great sage, representative of the Lord, kindly satisfy my inquisitiveness in all that I have inquired from you, and all that I may not have inquired from you. So after raising so many questions, he says that if there is anything which I have missed out or I have not specifically inquired, you may include it. From the very beginning of my questionings, since I am a soul surrendered unto you, please impart full knowledge in this connection. Very important element of receiving knowledge. To be able to become a participant in receiving knowledge, one has to become submissive and surrendered. The spiritual master is always prepared to impart knowledge to the disciple, and specifically when the disciple is very inquisitive. Inquisitiveness on the part of the disciple is greatly necessary for a progressive disciple. Maharaj Parikshit is a typical disciple because he is perfectly inquisitive. If one is not very inquisitive about self-realization, one need not approach a spiritual master simply to make a show of discipleship. What is the verse? If one is not very inquisitive about the self-realization, one need not approach a spiritual master simply to make a show of discipleship. There is a very beautiful verse in the 11th canto. Very, very popular. Very important verse and very popular verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. What is that verse? Which specifically talks about this quality of disciple being very inquisitive. This is precisely the word which focuses on this verse. You have all done ISKCON disciple course. You must be knowing this verse. Key verse. Dayāśīl Prabhu is still not come from his engagement. Ramya?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी वो सो गए हैं।
सो गए हैं। ठीक है। Tell me the verse. Pariprashnena. No, this is not good if you don't know this verse. The Prabhupada is speaking, very clearly here. If one is not very inquisitive about self-realization, one need not approach a spiritual master simply to make a show of discipleship. What is that verse? Tasmad gurum prapadyate jigyasu shreya uttamam. Have you not heard this verse? If you people have not heard this word, then you cannot pass ISKCON discipleship course. It is not possible. How you have not heard this verse? Who can come and approach the spiritual? Tasmad, therefore, gurum prapadyate. One can only surrender to the Supreme Lord who is jigyasu. And what kind of jigyasa? Is shreya uttamam. Show this verse, Manoram Prabhu. Tasmad gurum prapadyate jigyasu shreya uttamam. It is impossible for you to pass if you don't know this verse or if you do not apply this verse. Very good. Very quickly you found out. Yes. Shabde parecha nishnatam brahmani upushamaya ashraya. Come down. Show the translation. Therefore, any person who seriously desires real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. So this is Jigyasu and Shreya Uttamam. The qualification of the bona fide guru is that he has realized the conclusion of the scriptures by deliberation and he is able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material consideration, should be understood to be a bona fide spiritual master. Come down, the purport. Come down. Next paragraph. This verse says that unless and until one is awakened to the ultimate purpose of life, Shreya Uttamam, one should not accept a spiritual master or he is not fit to be a disciple. Come down. Yes. If a disciple has doubts about the value of Krishna consciousness, the bona fide spiritual master must dissipate those doubts by superior knowledge. One who himself doubts the authority of Krishna or Vedic knowledge cannot become a bona fide spiritual master. On the other hand, Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Shudra Kenanoy, Ye Krishna Tattva Veta Sei Guru Hoy. Any human being from any social or economic status can become a bona fide spiritual master if he knows the science of Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Yare dekho tare kaho Krishna upadesh, Amare agya guru hoya taro udesh. Come down, come down. If one does not become a lover of Krishna, his connection with Krishna takes place indirectly through the illusionary potency of the Lord. The idea that one can attract the Supreme Lord through mere gymnastics or foolish speculation on the absolute truth is certainly a product of Maya. One who is connected to Krishna through his external illusionary potency can only serve as a material master to connect his so-called disciple to the same illusionary energy. On the other hand, Bhagavad Gita says, Mahatma nastu mam partha devi prakriti mahashuddha. Those who are actually great souls have surrendered to the internal potency of the Lord and can similarly connect others to the internal pleasure-giving potency. A Mahatma is described in Bhagavad Gita as follows: Vasudevam Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Prabhupada is talking mainly about the spiritual master here. Come down. Yeah, this is basically just fully saturated with the qualities of the spiritual master. Yeah. Okay, here, see the point. According to Srila Bhakti Sāci-Sutā Thakur, one who has understood the futility of material existence can approach a bona fide spiritual master. In two previous verses, the futility of earthly and heavenly sense gratification has been described. Now, the natural condition is that one who has understood this should approach a bona fide spiritual master. The bona fide spiritual master broadcasts this sound vibration from the spiritual planets called Vaikuntha. The inhabitants of the spiritual planets headed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself are certainly not deaf and dumb. They are in constant communication through unlimited transcendental bliss and knowledge. And the bona fide spiritual master can transmit this sound vibration of bliss and knowledge to this disciple just as the radio broadcasts mundane news. Come down, come down. But if a serious student surrenders to a bona fide spiritual master, there is absolutely no impediment to the transmission of perfect knowledge and bliss in devotional service of the Lord. Yeah, okay. So close. This is very important. One must be having this inquisitiveness of Shreya Uttamam. He must be having inquisitiveness for attaining the perfection of life. Then one becomes a candidate to receive knowledge and bliss from the bona fide spiritual master. Then the connection can be established, otherwise it will not be established. That urge must be there in the heart of a sincere seeker. This is what here is being said about the inquisitiveness, the high level of inquisitiveness, the spiritual level of inquisitiveness of Parikshit Maharaj. Maharaj Parikshit is the typical disciple because he is perfectly inquisitive. If one is not very inquisitive about self-realization, one need not approach a spiritual master simply to make a show of discipleship. Not only is Maharaj Parikshit inquisitive concerning all he has inquired about, but is also anxious to know about what he has not been able to inquire. Factually, it is not possible for a man to inquire about everything from a spiritual master. But the bona fide spiritual master is able to enlighten the disciple in every way for the disciple's benefit. So, in a way, he is requesting, Maharaj Parikshit is requesting Sukadeva Goswami to speak and cover all the topics which are shreyas for him, which is for his ultimate benefit. Atra pramanam hi bhavan parmeshti yathatma bhu atma bhu. Apare cha anutishtanti purvesham purvaje kritam. O great Soj, you are as good as Brahma, the original living being. Others follow customs only as followed by previous philosophical speculators. It may be argued that Sukadeva Goswami is not the only authority of perfect knowledge in transcendence, because there are many other sages and their followers. Contemporary to Vyasadeva or even prior to him, there were many other great sages such as Gautam, Kannad, Jaimini, Kapil and Ashtavakra. And all of them have presented a philosophical path by themselves. These are the propounders of the Shad Darshan. Patanjali is also one of them. See, and these are all 6 great rishis. This is Shad Darshan rishis. And they have their own way of thinking exactly like the modern philosophers and mental speculators. What is the verse? Nasa rishi yas matirna bhinnam. As many philosophers, as many speculations. Nasa rishi yas matirna bhinnam. The difference between the 6 philosophical paths put forward by the renowned sages mentioned above the path of Sukadeva Goswami as presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam is that all the 6 sages mentioned above speak the facts according to their own thinking. But Sukadeva Goswami preaches and presents the knowledge which comes down directly from Brahmaji, who is known as Atmabhu, or born of and educated by the Almighty Personality of Godhead. Vedic transcendental knowledge descends directly from the Personality of Godhead. By His mercy, Brahma, the first living being in the universe, was enlightened, and from Brahmaji, Narad was enlightened, and from Narad, Vyas was enlightened. Sukadeva Goswami received such transcendental knowledge directly from his father Vyasadeva. Thus, the knowledge being received from the chain of disciplic succession is perfect. One cannot be a spiritual master in perfection unless and until one has received the same by disciplic succession. That is the secret of receiving transcendental knowledge. The 6 great sages mentioned above may be great thinkers, but their knowledge by mental speculation is not perfect. However perfect an empiric philosopher may be in presenting a philosophical thesis, such knowledge is never perfect because it is produced by an imperfect mind. Such great sages also have their disciplic successions, but they are not authorized because such knowledge does not come directly from the independent Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. No one can be independent except Narayan. Therefore, no one's knowledge can be perfect, for everyone's knowledge is dependent on the flickering mind. Mind is material, and thus knowledge presented by material speculators is never transcendental and can never become perfect. Mundane philosophers, being imperfect in themselves, disagree with other philosophers because mundane philosophers is not a philosopher at all unless he presents his own theory. Intelligent persons like Maharaj Parikshit do not recognize such mental speculators, however great they may be, but hear from authorities like Shukdev Goswami, who is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada is quoting here. But hear from authorities like Shukdev Goswami, who is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Verse is saying Brahma. O great sage, you are as good as Brahma, the original living being. And here Prabhupada is quoting. It is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the Parampara system and especially stressed in the Bhagavad Gita. Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Raj Rishiyo Vidu. नामे असवा पारयन्ति ब्रह्मणा अनसानन्दमी पीबतो अच्युत पीयूषाम तद्वाक्याब्धि विनिश्रिता. Beautiful verse. पीबतो अच्युत पीयूषाम तद्वाक्य abdhi. From your statements, vakya, what is flowing? Abdhi, ocean. Your conversation or your speaking is like the flow of ocean, the ocean of speech. New word, hearing for the first time. Vakya Abdhi, the ocean of speech. O learned Brahmana, because of my drinking the nectar of the message of the infallible personality of Godhead, which is flowing down from the ocean of your speeches, I do not feel any sort of exhaustion due to my fasting. Again and again, Maharaj Parikshit has to speak this so that the anxiety in the heart of Shukdev Goswami can be freed. Because I am drinking this nectar which is flowing from your speeches, from your lotus mouth, I do not feel any sort of exhaustion due to my fasting. The disciplic succession from Brahma, Narad, Vyasa and Sukdev Goswami is particularly different from others. Prabhupada makes this point very clear. It cannot be compared to anyone else. The disciplic succession from other sages are simply a waste of time. Prabhupada is very precise. Being devoid of Achyut Katha or the message of the infallible Lord. The mental speculators can present their theories very nicely by reasons and arguments. But such reasons and arguments are not infallible, for they are defeated by better mental speculators. The mental speculators can present their theories very nicely by reasons and arguments, but such reasons and arguments are not infallible, for they are defeated by better mental speculators. Maharaj Parikshit was not interested in dry speculation of the flickering mind, but he was interested in the topics of the Lord because factually he felt that by hearing such a nectarine message from the mouth of Sukdev Goswami, he was not feeling any exhaustion, even though he was fasting because of his imminent death. One can indulge in hearing the mental speculators, but such hearing cannot endure for any length of time. One will be exhausted very soon. Seeing one example here. Material life, there is exhaustion. Dayāśīl has already slept. His energy level is all sapped over. But if you are in spiritual activity, then you rise above the bodily level. Then there is no exhaustion. So Parikshit Maharaj continues to hear for 7 days and 7 nights without even drinking a drop of water. And his energy level or his enthusiasm, as he hears more, it grows more. So how it is possible? It is only possible because he is hearing from the right source. He is hearing from the bona fide source. Factually, he felt that by hearing such a nectarine message from the mouth of Sukdev Goswami, he was not feeling any exhaustion, even though he was fasting because of his imminent death. One can indulge in hearing the mental speculators, but such hearing cannot endure for any length of time. One will be exhausted very soon from hearing such hackneyed ways of thinking. And no one in the world can be satisfied simply by hearing such useless speculations. The message of the Lord, especially from a personality like Sukdev Goswami, can never be tiring, even though one may be exhausted from other causes. In some editions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the text of the last line of this verse reads, Anyatra kupita dvijat, which means that the king might be overwhelmed by the thought of his imminent death by snake bite. The snake is also twice born, and its anger is compared to the cursing Brahmana boy who was without good intelligence. Maharaj Parikshit was not at all afraid of death, for he was fully encouraged by the message of the Lord. One who is fully absorbed in Achyut Katha can never be afraid of anything in this world. Very powerful statement. One who is fully absorbed in Achyut Katha can never be afraid of anything in this world. You remember the verse which I gave you, which I shared with you? What is the effect of hearing Hari Katha? 6 things. Who remembers? 6 effect of one who is actually hearing Hari Katha. What are the 6 effects? It is from the 4th canto. Who is reciting the glorification of the Lord, who is hearing the glorification of the Lord, 6 things happen to him. Freedom from 6 aspects of material existence. No one remembers? I shared that verse with you when I came back from Govardhan after the Japa retreat. You don't remember? I shared that verse with you when I came back from Govardhan. You people don't note. You don't have realizations, and when you are given realizations, you don't value. Now will you experience realizations? You wrote to me, Purushottam, that you heard my realizations of my Japa retreat. What was the verse from where I explained? What verse is that? No one, none of you remember. None of you noted. Yes, Ramya?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, it is from 4 Canto.
Yes.
4 Canto 29 chapter, verse number 39 to 40.
Very good. Very good. Manaram, show this verse. You noted it? You
Yes,
remember?
Prabhuji.
Yes. You have brought that copy with you?
Yes.
This is sin. This is called really inquisitiveness. This is actually the confirmation of one who is actually inquisitive. Others are sitting in their own places, but they don't remember because they did not note. And even if they note, it has been thrown somewhere, it has been lost somewhere. Yes, this is the verse. So 6 things happen. This is very important. And one becomes free from thirst, from hunger. What are the others? If very beautiful verse. Show again, Manaram. Why you are taking so much of time? Show this verse. I will not repeat what she said. If you have not picked up now, that means you are not interested. Did you hear? Or your mind was somewhere else absorbed? By your faith, it seems you have missed it again. Then better let it remain missed. There's no point in talking or telling you people. We are not interested. Then there is no need. Then you remain in the consciousness where you will be passed by thirst, you will be passed by hunger, lamentation, illusion, fear. Prabhupada says one who is fully absorbed in Achyut Katha, see how much is the distraction? Even after being told so many times, still cannot concentrate. Why? Because the self-absorption is so deep. And here Prabhupada is saying, and one who is actually absorbed in Achyut Katha, one who is fully absorbed in Achyut Katha can never be afraid of anything in this world. And why there is absorption, self-absorption? Because of this fear in the heart. Sūta uvacha saha upaman mantritaha sa upamantrito rajna kathayam iti satpate brahmarato brahasham prito vishnurate samsadi. Vishnurate samsadi. Maharaj Parikshit is Vishnurat. Srila Sukdev Sutta Goswami said, thus Sukdev Goswami being invited by Maharaj Parikshit to speak on the topics of the Lord Shri Krishna with his devotees, was very much pleased. Srimad Bhagavatam can be legitimately discussed. See, very important. Prabhupada is giving the qualification. Srimad Bhagavatam can be legitimately discussed only among the devotees of the Lord. As Bhagavad Gita was authoritatively discussed between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the Lord and the devotee respectively. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the postgraduate study of the Bhagavad Gita, can also be discussed between the scholars and devotees like Shukdev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. Otherwise, the real taste of the nectar cannot be relished. Shukdev Goswami was pleased with Maharaj Parikshit because he was not at all tired of hearing the topics of the Lord and more anxious to hear them on and on with interest. Foolish interpreters unnecessarily tackle the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam when they have no access to the subject matters. There is no use in non-devotees meddling with the two topmost Vedic literature, and therefore Shankaracharya did not touch Srimad Bhagavatam for commentation. In his commentation on the Bhagavad Gita, Sripad Shankaracharya accepted Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But later on, he commented from the personalist view. But being conscious of his position, he did not comment on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Sukadeva Goswami was protected by Lord Krishna via Brahma Vivarta Puran. And therefore, he is known as Brahmarat. And Srimad Parikshit Maharaj was protected by Vishnu. And thus he is known as Vishnurat. Anyone knows the story? How Sukadeva Goswami was protected by Lord Krishna? Which is mentioned in Brahma Vaivarta Puran. So he is known as Brahmarat. And Parikshit Maharaj we already read. He was saved himself by Lord Krishna, by Vishnu. So he is known as Vishnurat. As devotees of the Lord, they are always protected by the Lord. It is clear also in this connection that a Vishnurat should hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a Brahmarat and no one else, because others misinterpret the transcendental knowledge and thus spoils one's valuable time. Okay, I'll stop here. It is 10 minutes past, 8 to 10 minutes past, 6 minutes past. Please hear with attention. Otherwise, even after getting this opportunity, you will spill it, you will miss it. Hare Krishna. See, after hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, how many questions are coming naturally flowing from the heart of Parikshit Maharaj. And when our turn comes, we hardly have any question or inquiry. No inquisitiveness. Hare Krishna. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी। हरि हरि बोल।